Hi, I'm Andrew Armstrong and welcome to the Back Office Teardown Lab. Clearly, it's not every day you see yourself running from an Atari ST, but that's exactly what you're witnessing right now. That's because we're using a rather cool piece of hardware, which I'm going to show you in a moment because it's connected here, called the ViDi ST12. And what it's doing, it's taking the capture, it's capturing the composite video from this Blu-ray player just down this little wire, and that's going straight into the Atari ST, and that's what we're seeing on the screen. And this is what the ViDi ST12, I think the 12's important, it does have that in the software title as well, looks like. You can see here, this way up, so don't try to jam it in the cartridge port that way, although frankly I think you'd have trouble fitting it. On the back you have various ports, but the main port we're interested in, of course, is this RCA port, which just captures a PAL or NTSC video signal and converts that into the Atari ST Magic. I'm wondering if 12 stands for the 12-bit. Let's not dwell too much, let's plug it in again. So you can hear my Atari ST booting up right now. I do have a Satan disk attached here, and I've got this pre-installed with the software that this needs and a couple of extra utilities that could be useful as well. So I have the ViDi ST program right here. Luckily enough, I found that on the web. So I bought this off eBay completely undocumented, just the board itself. But I managed to go online and find that. Of course, we have a copy of Neochrome because we might want to see if we can work with the pictures that this can capture. And we have a copy of STOS because, of course, why else would you want one of these? I would have dreamt of having one of these back in the day so that I could have brought graphics into STOS. I had always the visions of making my own version of Pit Fighter. I didn't say Mortal Kombat, you notice, because Mortal Kombat wasn't a thing necessarily at the time, but Pit Fighter was. And I always wanted to use a hand scanner to capture images that way. And this would have been so much more efficient, although we wouldn't have had video cameras. We take so much for granted. Now I'm going to zoom in a little bit because you don't really need to see the keyboard anymore. So that's the screen itself. And if I right click, or left click rather, you can see there's a nice little interface that comes up. And what you're seeing in the background there, that is the video. It's live video, but I've paused it. I've pushed pause on this Blu-ray. I'm going to push play again. I'm now going to rewind a bit. So I'm not like massively narcissistic on here. It's just I wanted to make sure you had content that we didn't have to worry about any legal issues with displaying it. So what I'd made was various clips on here, as well as this test card pattern so that we could have a go at playing with this and tuning it in. In fact, I'm going to zoom out a touch just so that you can see the full edge here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit grab. And what grab does, that grabs a frame, and you can see around here, once it's done, it will tell us the frame count, and apparently that's what we grabbed. I'm going to check the settings because it doesn't look like we did a color grab. Oh no, we did a color grab here. As you can see here, it says Andrew Dalton with the blue background on the Patreon banner here. And then there's one of me, so let's grab again. And you can see I do have this set to colour. You do have brightness and contrast settings, of course, they're really, and hue, of course, and they're all really important on this because you're basically dithering the colour information into something that you can capture on this device. You can see here it didn't do a great job of that. In fact, I'm going to pause the Blu-ray. Yep, we're paused, so that we've got a still image of me, and you can see that there's a slight amount of noise here. But that's fine, that's just part of that capture process. But what's good with that, because it's giving us that live video feed, we can actually have a go at messing with these settings. So let's have a go with this one here on the right. I think this is saturation, so I'm going to bring it all the way down. Let's see what happens. And if you're trying to set this up with a source, I mean, you're going to go through this same process because you're going to want to optimize it because you don't necessarily have the requirement to capture like every single bit of color. You might be really focusing something. So you can see here, everything here is that green hue on it. And of course, let's go up the other way. What are we going to guess? Red? Let's see if that's the case. It's thinking about it. No. Maybe it's not hue. But the face definitely seems to be lacking some detail. So I'm going to fiddle around with those. Let's see if I can capture a reasonable quality. Okay, I have to admit, I've been playing around for a few minutes now and I've kind of lost the will to try to get a good capture. You can see in the grayscale it comes out really well, and in fact I did do a bit of capture of this Harry Potter Blu-ray, and it came out really good as well. So it does require some tinkering, but I think we're going to get diminishing returns spending in more time on it. So let's go through some of the other settings. So you can see now I've got 8 frames. Let's go through the next option. So while I was doing this, by the way, it didn't seem to be flickering the hard disk access light, which I've got right here. So that suggests to me that it's capturing in memory, which is okay on this particular one because we've got 4 megabytes to play with. And interesting, when I click to mix, look, it actually changed like that. So that's what it's seeing live, but this is actually what it captured. So there is a little bit of a difference there, but I have to say it does look a lot less noisy. And here you can set all of your settings. I think that's to save them as a file. So you've got high res, interlace, overscan and PAL, and these change the graphics resolution. And then here you've got the color mode. So it currently says 16 color, 256 spectrum true. Again, I'm just going to leave those right now. And then you can go over to edit, and edit's pretty cool. Edit's a really neat function because it's a bit like the old tools you used to get in Paint Shop Pro, or if you use a package now like GIMP or Photoshop, basically. So you have saturation, gamma, negative, quantize, pixelize, or I'd say pixelate, probably be more correct, median, emboss, convolve. So you've actually got these filters. So you can, well, I don't know any settings for a convolve matrix, but let's just do an emboss because that should be a nice simple one. And it will run away and just go and do that for you. So you have some basic effects you can apply. It's still thinking about it. I wonder, there we go, it's finally actually brought up a, oh, it's doing it. Yeah, so that's what it looks like. I'm not sure if that's what we were expecting or what we needed, but fine. Something I'm noticing as well, it seems to be, you saw that was kind of in color there. It's almost like as if it's a slightly different display port, like this interface here isn't in the full color, and then when it goes to the other mode to try to display color, it goes a bit funny, but let's not worry about that. Now this is the carousel mode where you can arrange your frames, and the reason you might want to arrange your frames is that you can actually play it. So if you go to view, or is it play, one of these, let's see, let's select some of these up. Okay, so you've got to select your frames. So it's got your start frame and your end frame and the frame rate, and then you can actually play them. And you can see here it is in color. So this is just a low color representation of what you've captured. So you can certainly play them back fast enough. So if you can capture them, it should be pretty good. So I'm going to attempt to try to capture a bunch of frames using some of the settings if you're just going to record some video. We're in the carousel mode again, and you can see I have a whopping 79 frames of video. Mono. In the continuous capture mode, it will only let me capture mono. So how I think it does, it's probably doing something with the graphics buffer, and then it's processing the RGB separately, and that takes too long. I'm guessing really they could probably have another mode where they would have reduced the frame rate and done it. And interestingly enough, the VidiST does have an API, so you could potentially make a better piece of software. Or if you wanted to, you could probably have it actually slow down the recording. So if you can actually have the Atari ST operate your DVD player or something and progress one frame, capture it, progress one frame, capture it, progress one, capture. So you could probably get pretty good results if you really want to invest the time in doing that. So you can see here, it's not a particularly interesting piece of video. It's just me cleaning a soldering iron, but it is pretty much full screen video at a reasonable frame rate, and that frame rate is 7 FPS. So not bad. As part of my DVD, I actually included a test card so that we could tune some of the settings, but I think that's pretty good. I think we're getting a reasonably good pattern there, and you can see there are some fringing here, and that's because, of course, at the end of the day, this is an analog capture. But you're doing okay for, what is it, 30-year-old machine, at least. I found a menu option called High Res, and I've enabled that now. So I'm going to hit grab, and we'll see what happens. Well, it certainly seems to be taking a longer time thinking about it. Well, look at that. That's not bad at all. You can see there's far less dithering. So what this suggests to me though, although I've got the image paused, I did do a test earlier while this is running and it does show the whole frame. So clearly the VDST12 here has enough to capture an entire buffer of memory, but it's how you process that buffer in the Atari is what makes the difference, and certainly what seems to be taking the different amounts of time. You can see the desktop interface provides you with slightly more options in terms of the preferences. So when you're in the desktop interface, you can set all these preferences for the grab, mixing and edit. And not only there, you can actually load and save your frames, but also load and save animations from the carousel. So that's super useful. You can see you have a view here, and the colors are all messed up, of course, because it's using different palettes. So I presume you rarely have the correct palette in here. And if I hit space, you can just view the exact frame you've got there. You just do save and save it as a particular format, PI1. I think it supports some other formats there. There's certainly other format files, but you'll notice when you try to load them or save them, it might not necessarily work. So I'm going to go for Clint16.neo. Let's see what it tries to do with that. So, oh, well, that's not bad. There's your Clint Eastwood. Let's fill the frame a bit more with him. That's actually pretty good, isn't it? Let's have a look through. What else have we got? Brodick. Okay, well, Brodick didn't work, but I think we're lucky it didn't. That's an RGB. Bfly.bmp. What could Bfly be? Oh, it doesn't display that one. I noticed it says 8 planes here, so perhaps this is at a resolution that we can't display on this monitor. Well, let's just keep going. Clint Coke, and that's an animation. It doesn't like that. So there's some formats are clearly export formats, but not ones it can bring in. Potter, and there you go. There's your Hermione Granger, and that would have been off this DVD, which is the Chamber of Secrets. We'll try one more, shall we? Shade 16. Oh. Well, that's all right. Some sunshades. So you've got some decent captures there. It would be neat though if we could load some animations and see an animation. So I've got an animation here called Potter. Let's try the Potter animation. You can see just about this little blue light flickering away. We can see it's done now, so we've got something going on here. So if we go to carousel, we should be able to view it, and it's taking a little bit longer. So I've noticed this, the more frames you have in the memory, the longer it takes to switch between some of these things. And I think that's because in carousel mode it does have that thumbnail view, so it's probably taken its time to generate those. Again, you can see the 78 thumbnail seems to be a standard number, so that is likely to be based on the amount of RAM you have installed. Be interesting to see if you could get more than 4 megabytes in Atari ST and then see what that will give you here. So let's hit, I think is it play or view? Oh, there we go. And again, I hope that Warner or whoever it is who currently owns Harry Potter franchise won't come to sue me. But you can see there's some brief clips from Harry Potter going round and round. But it's actually pretty good. I think if you had a video game and you had this kind of quality FMV going on, you'd have been really pleased with it. And just as an aside, I noticed through the menu there's a status option, and I selected that, and you can see here current status 79 projects, and I think project really it means a frame, and that leaves you with 452 kilobytes free. And there was an option here also to erase, so what does that do? Oop, that's erase file. It would have been neat to be able to delete everything. In fact, I think I want to shut everything down and come back so that we can see how much memory it actually gives you here. In fact, we've got rid of a couple and you can see the kilobytes have gone up. So from fresh, it's giving us 3,113 kilobytes to work with. So let's have a look in our art package now, our Neochrome, to see if we can load these things up. If we can remember how to do it. And this was back in the day, by the way, where you didn't have a consistency on the user interface. So you have the left mouse button do something and the right mouse button do something else. So that's always a bit of a mind-blowing thing. So you can see here, these are the options. You can load a Neo, a PI1, PC1 in different formats. So let's try to load a couple of Potters here. Oh, there we go. And that's it. You can go full screen and then start doing your video editing. Well, you're still frame editing. It's not really video editing at this point. And you can see along the top, I'm guessing this is the color palette. It's not really the prettiest, so let's change the format. Let's see what else we've got on there. Andrew. No. And that was the still image we caught earlier. So great. So that's giving you the ability to do stuff in your normal art package. Again, back in the day, this would have blown your mind. Those of you with an eagle eye will have noticed a few things here and there, and one of them will have been this STOS manual. And of course, you should be able to bring images into STOS, because I used to do it all the time from Neochrome. Now, it might take me a few moments to reacquaint myself with the commands I would need to do that. Okay, guys, let's give this a go. Woo! Spooky Hermione in STOS. You can see it's just kind of messed up the palette. I think there's a few different things we actually have to do, if I recall. So we're going to do load Flash VDST Potter.neo and load that into, I think, is it bank? No, we have to reserve it. Okay. So far, so good. Did I spell that wrong? Get P-A-L-E-T-T-E. Yes. Get. Right, so that should work. And then screen copy 5 to Logic. Oh, I saw it. I saw it there. It popped up. Because I keep making mistakes, I might actually have to make this into a proper little program. So 10. Okay, guys, it's been a while, but I have to admit I haven't actually quite solved it, but I'm getting there. So if I load my program now, I'll let you see the codes, because boys and girls at home might be able to let me know what I'm doing wrong. So if I list that there for you. So what I'm doing is I'm setting mode 0, turning off the menu, clearing the screen, reserving memory bank 5 as a data screen, loading the image into bank 5, get the palette from 5, and then I'm copying the 5 to the logical screen wait key. Is there, hang on, let me just check something. Is there something called flash off? Yes, maybe I'm going to add line number 6, flash off. That might be the solution to what I was actually experiencing. Now let's run this. Hey, there you go. It was the flash. The flash is off, and that's like the weird flashing cursor color palette. So there you go. That's how you do it. So now we've got this into code. I've got to save that, don't I? Let's make sure that's still there. It is. Don't like looking at things like that. Like it in mode 1. Okay, save Andrew.bas. And we are done. Just going to gently prise it apart, because it didn't seem like it had any screws, and I hope there's no hidden screws under the label, because that would be most disastrous to have to damage a label. Nope, it's just pressed. These would be quite nice to emulate, actually, using 3D printers. Wouldn't it be nice to emulate the whole circuit? It's something possible. If there's enough people want them, I might consider making it. But I wonder if we could just literally make a modern version. You don't need all of this. You could probably just jam in a Raspberry Pi or something. Although, that being said, there isn't video capture, is there, on Raspberry Pis? Now, this is a double layer PCB, or rather, when I say double layer, it's obviously a regular PCB, but what I mean is, as in two-sided, but there is another layer, literally another PCB in the box with it. So, gently, don't want to break anything. Oh my, okay. You'll see now what's going on. I'm just trying to get this back plate off, because it's just stuck there. Right. Look at that. Now, that was kind of unexpected. There's actually a header here, and it's pressed into that. And it looks like potentially this PCB that's
glued in, stuck down. Could have come in different flavours, because I think this would be effectively the composite decoder. Let's have a look at some part numbers, because I know you guys who like to play at home often can decode these. We're looking here at a Sony chip, which is a CXA1621S. Then there's a bunch of little tuning caps. A crystal that looks like maybe a 4 megs, can't quite see because there's a solder blob on it. And we got a M4HC4066B1, whatever that guy's at home. But look at this. Not quite sure what that is. Is that a transformer? And you can just about see there's a date there, which is 1992, and it says VRGB M101. Interesting. There's definitely some footprints here. Yeah, we might have to look at the manual to see what this port actually is. Again, is that SVHS or S-Video? You can see it has 4 pins and the outer ground. And it's probably not SVHS because that was a videotape. Again, this is the bit that does the main work in terms of actually holding the image, and you have a lot of these chips, quite a lot of 1, 2, no, actually they're all different. They're all 74 series chips, but actually they are pretty much different. So I thought they were going to be memory chips. Yeah, I'm going to zoom in on this. I think you guys will need to actually just see what's on there, and you can study it using your eyes. There's a big Hyundai chip. That well could be a RAM. Who knows? More interestingly though, let's have a look at the label so we can see who this is. It says Rombo. So this is the Rombo Video ST12 1993. Issue 1.01. Look at this, so it'd be an early board. There is an adjustment pot here, but they haven't written what the adjustment is. It's just VR1. I should have a play with that actually when I have it hooked up next time. We can see what happens with that. And I suspect what this board is doing, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, is taking the frame from here. So this is decoding that video into something that the ADCs, whatnot on here can capture, and it's storing it in memory on here, and a lot of that will be just then taking the memory from here onto the Atari ST, and I suspect that's taking some time. And then when you see the picture, in fact it's not really taking that much time at all, is it? Because we saw quite a frequent update on the screen. It was almost live. So that part's okay. It's certainly in monochrome. But then there was that time where you saw it taking the time it takes to process the video on the Atari ST is taking its time. And I suspect, again, that's to do with dithering and trying to match it up because it can't display the colours as is. So yeah, sorry about that being so glib on this, but it's just one of those weeks, and we're rather busy. And if we don't get a video out, sometimes you just don't get it out. It's been hanging around, sitting on my desk for over, I don't know, is it a year now? So I'm sure, I just wanted to show it to you. We can work out how it works as we go along. But yeah, coolio. If you look on the website, as in the internet in general, not a particular website, there are schematics for this, I believe. There's certainly the documentation on how it works and everything like that. And I'm pretty sure I found the schematics. So yeah, you could technically make your own if you wanted to, but it does look like it's probably not worth the effort. You could get further, I think, by trying to emulate its functionality using modern stuff, and then still using its same software by totally emulating how it talks to the Atari ST, and then you could save yourself a lot of time. But yeah, I think it's pretty much a frame buffer grab, and then it just will encode that into something that the ST can pull on the cartridge port. And if you look on the schematics for the Atari ST, the cartridge port is just memory mapped into the whole system, so it's a reasonably fast interface. It's literally the processor just bangs away at it and pulls the data across from it. So there you go.
So that's about it for now on the VidiST12. I really think this is cool, and the more I play with it, the more hidden depths I discover. And it's fantastic what they did with relatively modest machines. And if you've seen the video I did on the hand scanner, and we should revisit that hand scanner, there's quite a lot of sophisticated features that you saw in later PC things. I guess PCs were kind of out at the same time, and they're really trying to get these workhorses to do as much as they could. So there you go. If you want one, have a look on the internet. You might find one like me. As ever, thanks for watching.